Now we continue our special series on the American military. In tonight's How We Fight report, we look at the significant changes the armed forces have made with regard to who gets to fight, changes designed to keep up with the times. Some welcome these developments, while others fear political correctness is getting in the way of what they see as the military's primary purpose, defeating enemies on the battlefield. It's an historic moment in San Francisco.
Now, it is my privilege to name the USNS Harvey Milk.
Harvey Milk was a gay rights activist. And this ceremony is part of a new policy to name warships after civil rights leaders. There are critics out there who say that kind of a tipping the hat to political correctness.
Anytime you do anything, you're going to get criticism.
Navy Secretary Ray Mabus has named ships after civil rights leaders, such as Cesar Chavez and Medgar Evers.
I think it's important for America, and I think it's important as those ships go around the world, people understand who these folks were and what our values are.
I think it certainly is a break from tradition. I think we have a lot of war heroes. I think you could walk over to Arlington Cemetery and just randomly pick a name, and that would be an appropriate name for one of our warships. Secretary Mabus has the authority to do it.
The naming of a ship is a symbolic act, but Mabus has brought about controversy with changes that go beyond symbolism.
Bring for your life! You're not screaming yet!
Perhaps the biggest change in the Navy and the military in general is the greater integration of women and transgender people into our fighting forces.
When we opened every combat specialty to women, we became stronger. When we ended the ban on transgender service, we became stronger.
This new military has the support of many civil rights advocates.
Someday with me.
Donna Sachet is a prominent San Francisco drag queen by night, activist by day.
The military has come a long way with the LGBT community in a short time. If people are not living authentic lives, that are living a secret life the entire time they're serving the military, how can they be really a full part of the team?
Aaron Belkin is a noted LGBTQ scholar who helped the Pentagon devise its new policy.
Having a ban in place that prevents people to be honest about who they are gets in the way of military readiness.
Retired General John Kelly of the Marine Corps believes it may not be that simple.
Right now, if you are being medicated, unless it's fairly temporary, you will get discharged. It is my understanding that some transgenders need lifelong hormonal treatments, then the depression issue in many cases.
Gender dysphoria is the distress that a transgender person might feel if they're born in the wrong body. Not all transgender people suffer from distress.
It goes back to this issue, Brett. Does it make us more lethal? And I clearly would argue that it doesn't make us more lethal.
I guess the argument is if they make the standards and they want to serve the country, why wouldn't transgenders?
There's a lot of ways to serve your country. The military is a very, very different organization in the sense of what it does. At the end of the day, it fights.
A more diverse force is a stronger force.
I live in Silicon Valley. The most dynamic companies are inclusive and diverse. But lightning strikes of great ideas are not the metric of success of a military unit. Unit cohesion and battlefield lethality are the measures of success of military units. So the rules that apply in other circumstances don't necessarily apply in the military.
The number of transgenders in the military, however, is dwarfed by the number of women. Thus, the efforts to integrate women into active combat specialties is likely to have an even greater effect.
The Marines are the only ones that have a separate boot camp, and they are moving toward more and more integration at boot camp today.
When this disintegration was first proposed, the Marine Corps decided, and I think did exactly the right thing to do a study.
The Marines released that study last year. It found that combat units integrated with female Marines typically did not move as quickly or shoot as accurately. Women also were more than twice as likely to suffer injuries as a result of carrying heavy combat loads. But Navy Secretary Mabus rejected its findings.
The problem with that study was that it measured units and it measured averages, not individuals. Marines have never been about average. You look at individuals. can that individual make it? Then, if you're a man or a woman, if you're black or white or brown, it doesn't matter.
Did the Marines give the Navy Secretary faulty data?
The Marine Corps hired the best kind of sports medicine and physiological department in any university in the country. The study came up with women, generally speaking, are not as strong as men. We paid $36 million for that. Of course, it was rejected.
You always have some folks that think any change is going to be bad. I mean, you look back when we integrated in the 40s. You had people saying, this is going to be terrible, this is going to ruin the Marines or whatever, and it never happened.
I think the desegregation example is a facile and inaccurate one, because nobody doubted that black soldiers could fight as well as white soldiers did. Moreover, you didn't have the thorny problem of sexual attraction. And then there's your average woman would have a difficult time meeting the demands of an average man in combat, which is unquestionably reducing battlefield lethality.
You know what they say? They say, General, you're part of the old school, just resistant to change.
The people that are driving this have no clue what combat's about. They have no idea.
But it's doing harm in your eyes.
These are phenomenally good young men and women. When we turn them in the United States Marines, we love them. But at the end of the day, we're the ones that put them in body bags. We're the ones that bury them. And we don't have any other agenda than to fight our nation's battles and to win with the absolute minimum casualties. We know more about this than they do.
One of the things that I've got to be certain to do is be non-political in this job. I represent the United States Navy and Marine Corps. I'm going to be non-political. I'm going to do the job that the country requires.
On tomorrow's How We Fight, we look at changes at the front, specifically the rules of engagement. Do they work in the current war on terror?